Nepal Bhasa Renaissance was the movement to revive and modernize the Nepal Bhasa language during the period 1909 to 1941. The movement was spontaneous and not orchestrated. However, the sum total of activities conducted during this era had a profound impact on the overall course of the language development. Factors and influences. Many factors played impact in Nepal Bhasa Renaissance. Some of them are repression of Nepal Bhasa and its banning from official use by Rana regime. The first generation of Nepalese scholars who received modern education attempted to modernize language. Hindu and Buddhist literary movements in India and Nepal. Regional language movement of Bengal. Renaissance figures. The most prominent people of this era were Nisthananda Bajracharya, Siddhis Maharaju, Jagat Sundar Malla, Yogbir Singh Kanzaka, Shukraraj Shastri, Dharmaditya Dharmacharya. Nisthananda, Siddhis, Jagat Sundar and Yogbir Singh are considered as the four pillars of Nepal Bhasa. Activities. Various activities marked the Renaissance era. Publication. Nisthananda Bajracharya authored and printed the first printed book in Nepal Bhasa called Ekbinshati Pragyapamita in 1909. He brought printing type from Kolkata, did the typesetting, proofreading and printing himself. Standardization of grammar. Shukraraj Shastri published the first grammar book in Nepal Bhasa called Nepal Bhasa Bhikaran. Before that, grammar was limited to manuscripts and traditional teachings with wide variability. This publication initiated a standardization of grammar. Publication of Nepal Bhasa Reader aided in further standardization of vocabulary. The publication of Dictionary in English Nepal Bhasa translation by Jagat Sundar Malla helped in standardization of vocabulary. Translation to increase the literary treasure of the language. Translations of various literature was initiated in this era. Some of them are as follows. Lalit Vistara of Sanskrit Buddhist text based on the Buddha's life story was translated by Nisthananda Bajracharya, one of the four pillars of Nepal Bhasa during this era. Hindu epic Ramayana by Siddhis Maharaju. Aesop's Fables by Jagat Sundar Malla. Education. Jagat Sundar Malla was a pioneer of modern education. He turned his own house into a free school. To overcome the lack of teaching materials, he wrote many course books himself, including an English Nepal Bhasa English dictionary and translated Aesop's Fables in 1915 into Nepal Bhasa. Poet Yogbir Singh Kanzaka stressed female education. Research. Scientific research on the language began in this period. It was identified that Nepal Bhasa is a Sino-Tibetan language and not an Indo-Aryan language in this era. Various ancient manuscripts were collected and researched during this era. Literature. Modern literature was introduced into Nepal Bhasa during this era. Modern prose and poetry were established and epic writing were firmly re-established during this era. Activism and identity. Renaissance marked the revival of the term Nepal Bhasa to name the language rather than the caste-imposed term Newari. Figures like Dharmaditya Dharmacharya were active and conscious about the proper nomenclature of the language. Literary samples. Some of the lines from Sarjan Hridaya Baran of Siddhis Maharaju read as follows, which state that even a moron can improve with the company of good people just like even a drop of water appears like a pearl when it descends upon the leaves of a lotus plant. Impact. Much of the literary activities conducted in modern era were a propagation of the activities initiated in this era. The era created a new breed of modern writers. Unlike medieval-era or Dark-era writers, these writers were commoners and not aristocrats. Hence, literature reached the grassroots level of society. Some of the most prominent impacts of the activities of this era are the epic Sugata Saurabha by Chittadhar Hridaya is the greatest epic written in the language along the lines of Nisthananda Bajracharya. The Nepal Bhasa movement, which helped establish Nepal Bhasa as a national language of Nepal after the 2006 democratic movement, was along the lines of the movement of Dharmaditya Dharmacharya.